Hey everyone, Berto here. In this video I'm going to show you how I'm presently feeding my corals. I've been getting a lot of good new growth out of them, and just wanted to pass along the things that I'm using. So I'm going to show you what I'm feeding them with. I'm going to tell you how often and how I use the different tools to feed them with. First of all, I've tried a new product called Pohl's Coral Vitalizer. It's pricey, but it really seems to open up the polyps and get them ready for feeding. I'm also using Pohl's Sponge Power. It says it's designed for water cleaning and water quality. SPS coral get longer colored growth tips, and the recovery of harmed corals is highly improved. So again, that's a pricey supplement, but I am getting some good results out of it. Just like it says, I am getting better colors and longer growth in my corals. My favorite coral food is Coral Frenzy. I'll show you how I mix that up and use that. And I also use Julian Sprung's Marine Snow. Now, the marine snow I use on a daily basis along with the feeding of the fish, and along with the poles and the sponge power. I mean the coral vitalizer and the sponge power. The Coral Frenzy I feed every third or fourth day. So let's get on with that. I definitely turn off my skimmer when I go to feed my corals. I leave the skimmer off for an hour. That's gives the food a good time to go through the system without being pulled out. When I feed with the Coral Frenzy, I also turn off my return pump and my my circulation pumps. Right now I'm only going to feed with the poles, and that has to be put in to a current. So we're going to shut the skimmer off and move on with dosing with the poles. Now, on both of these products it says to shake well before use. I usually like to jump up and down and swing my arms and kind of do all that stuff, and then I found out that it meant shake the bottle before use. So we're going to go ahead and shake that up real good. It comes with a glass eye dropper. You're going to want to squeeze the residual of that out after you're shaking it, and then suck back in some fresh. Now, for my tank and size, I'm going to put 4 drops on each return outlet. Like I said, this is really, coral food, but it also prepares the corals. In other words, once it gets in there, it stimulates their polyp extension. And again, I'm going to use the sponge power. Now, it comes with directions on how much to use per your tank size, but you kind of got to also factor in, how many corals you actually have, how many animals you're feeding. So dose this again right into the return pump outlet, high current. Okay, now with the Coral Frenzy, you kind of got to figure it out on your own how much to put in. It gives you initial guidelines, but I've got a cup of tank water. Just put it in there and stir it all up until it's nice and consistently muddy. Now again, I am a big fan of Julian Sprung's Julian's thing. Actually, it's Two Little Fishies Inc. But we're going to draw some out and start our feed. Now, as far as time goes, time of the day or light cycle, I like to feed either before the main halide lights come on or half hour or so after they go off. Just they're more receptive, the corals are more receptive to the food, it seems, without the halides on. So now that I've got my Julien's thing filled, you want to press really slowly, make a little cloud. I've got all my pumps turned off, so there's nothing that's going to move that away. And I'm just going to let that sit there. I'm going to do the same thing for my digitata. One of my frags, it's doing exceptionally well. I'm just barely pumping it out of there. And that food is just going to kind of hover around right where I put it because there's no water movement in the tank right now. Barely pumping this out over my candy cane. Now, you know, you don't have to use a whole lot if you get it on the coral so they can utilize it. Now then, a good way to determine if you're pumping this food in there slowly enough is to, if you have a feather duster, just kind of pump a little bit in there very carefully. You don't want him to completely retract. I'm going to shoot a little over here. See, he's moving around, he's swirling. That means he's not frightened. He's receiving the food. See that? Now he's curling it in. And I'm still pumping food in. Now, if you have feather dusters, you know it's not hard to freak them out. So that's how slow I like to pump this food into them. It's direct and conservative, and they're digging it. Now, I've seen some people target feed by just aiming and squeezing the trigger, and what you're doing there is they're going to get a little bit of it initially, but after that the rest of it's just kind of going wild in the tank, kind of free floating away. See, my little shrimpo likes this stuff. This really gets the fish ready for feeding too. Not that they need it, but really sparks their appetites. Now obviously I'm feeding my frog spawn, and I'm just barely pumping this in there, hoping that you'll get to see a little cloud of it. So I've got that in there. Now you want them to close up. And as you can see, they're starting to close up, but not so rapidly that they're not going to get it evenly. If you understand what I'm saying. I'll reload on the Coral Frenzy, and I'm going to do this again. See, the little clownfish love it. And it's non-threatening. It's just a food source. So you go all the way around. It takes a lot of patience, but you get remarkable results. And as I said, you use less food because it's all going where you want it to go. And I'm going to repeat, I've turned off all the pumps in the tank, so there's no water movement other than that from the fish. So obviously you want to remember to turn everything back on afterwards. Okay guys, that's it for now. Hope this helped. Thanks for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe.